What the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. Author, Richard Bach. Have you ever watched a butterfly emerge from its chrysalis, wings still wet and fragile, taking those first tentative moments before discovering its ability to soar? Meet Luna, a butterfly who once believed her wings were forever broken, that her time of flight had ended before it truly began. She wasn't always grounded. There was a time when Luna danced through gardens with effortless grace, her iridescent wings catching sunlight like scattered jewels, bringing joy to every flower she visited. But something shifted in Luna's world, slowly at first, then all at once. The colors that once seemed so vibrant began to fade to muted grays. The flowers that had welcomed her now seemed distant, unreachable. The very air that once lifted her wings now felt thick, heavy, impossible to navigate. What had once been effortless flight became an exhausting struggle just to flutter from one leaf to another. Luna found herself spending more and more time hidden beneath large leaves, her wings folded tight against her body. She watched other butterflies dance in the sunlight and felt a strange disconnection, as if she were observing life through frosted glass. "They make it look so easy," she would whisper to herself. "What's wrong with me? Why can't I just fly like I used to?" The weight of her struggle was invisible to others. From the outside, Luna appeared to be simply resting, perhaps being more cautious than the other butterflies. But inside, she was fighting a battle that felt impossible to win. Every morning brought the same heavy feeling, like invisible stones attached to her wings. The thought of joining the other butterflies in their joyful flight felt overwhelming, exhausting before she even tried. Days blended into weeks. Luna's world grew smaller and smaller. She told herself she was just tired, that tomorrow would be different, that she just needed to try harder, but trying harder only seemed to make the heaviness worse. The guilt of not being able to do what once came naturally added another layer to her burden. Butterflies are supposed to fly, she would think. If I can't fly, what am I? Other creatures in the garden began to notice. "Luna seems different lately," a wise old bee observed. "She used to visit every flower. Now she barely leaves that oak tree." A concerned ladybug approached her once, asking if she was all right. Luna managed a weak smile and said, "I'm fine, just resting." She couldn't find words to explain the inexplicable heaviness, the way colors had drained from her world, how even the simplest movements felt like climbing mountains. One morning, as dewdrops caught the early light like tiny prisms, Luna made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden beneath her favorite leaf, she found something unexpected, a small, abandoned chrysalis. It was cracked and weathered, clearly from a previous season. As she examined it closely, she realized something profound. This empty shell represented not an ending, but a transformation that had already occurred. Some butterfly had once been completely enclosed in darkness, unable to move, unable to see the world outside, appearing to others as if all life had stopped. "They were in total darkness," Luna whispered, running her antenna along the chrysalis edge. "They couldn't fly, couldn't see, couldn't do anything that makes a butterfly, and yet they emerged." For the first time in weeks, Luna felt a flicker of something she had almost forgotten: hope. She began to understand that perhaps her current state wasn't a permanent brokenness, but a different kind of chrysalis. Maybe the heaviness, the inability to fly, the disconnection from joy. Maybe these weren't signs that she was irreparably damaged, but signs that some deep transformation was trying to occur. That realization didn't immediately cure her struggle, but it changed how she viewed it. Instead of fighting against the heaviness with exhausted desperation, Luna began to practice a different kind of patience with herself. On days when her wings felt too heavy to lift, she would remind herself, even in the chrysalis, the butterfly is still a butterfly, just in a different stage. She started small. Instead of trying to fly across the entire garden like she used to, Luna would flutter just to the next flower. Instead of berating herself for not feeling joy, she would simply notice, "Today the colors seem muted, and that's okay. The butterfly in the chrysalis can't see colors either, but that doesn't mean colors don't exist." Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, things began to shift. There were still heavy days, days when flying felt impossible, but there were also moments, brief at first, when a flower's fragrance would pierce through the grey fog, when the warmth of sunlight on her wings would feel real again, when she would find herself fluttering without thinking about how hard it was. Luna learned to be patient with her metamorphosis. She discovered that healing from deep sadness wasn't like healing from a broken wing. It wasn't linear, it wasn't predictable, and it required a different kind of strength. It required the courage to keep breathing when breathing felt pointless, to keep existing when existing felt exhausting, to trust that transformation was happening even when she couldn't see or feel it. The wise old bee, who had been watching Luna's journey with knowing eyes, approached her one day as she rested on a sunflower. "I've seen many butterflies go through seasons of heavy wings," he said gently. "The strongest ones aren't those who never struggle to fly. They're the ones who learn that sometimes rest is part of the journey. Sometimes what looks like stillness is actually deep healing." Months later, Luna found herself dancing in a summer breeze, her wings carrying her with a grace that felt both familiar and entirely new. She wasn't the same butterfly who had first lost her ability to fly. She was something deeper, more resilient, more compassionate. When she encountered other butterflies struggling with heavy wings, she would share her story, not as someone who had conquered depression, but as someone who had learned to navigate it, to work with it, to transform through it. Luna discovered that her broken phase hadn't destroyed her capacity for flight. It had taught her that true flying comes not from the absence of struggle, but from learning to trust the process of transformation, even when it happens in the darkness, even when it's invisible to others, even when it takes longer than expected. If you, or a butterfly you know, is experiencing heavy wings and a world drained of color, remember Luna. Remember that metamorphosis isn't always visible, that healing isn't always linear, and that sometimes the deepest transformation happens in the darkest places. Your struggle is not evidence of failure. It may be evidence of profound change trying to occur. Your wings may feel broken now, but they may be preparing for a kind of flight you never imagined possible. Trust the process. Trust the chrysalis. Trust that emergence, though it cannot be rushed, is a natural part of your design. Because even butterflies with the most beautiful flights have spent time learning to navigate heavy wings. Subscribe to the channel for more wisdom from the Savanna of the mind and discover how to honor your own sacred process of transformation.